Madam Mayor, council members, thank you for the opportunity tonight. I'm Judd Wilson, a resident at 2305 South Main. For a year now, since we moved to Moscow, I've seen many billboards sponsored by the local Humanist Association, which advocate for its belief system. And while I don't share the beliefs, their billboards have never offended me. But last week, a billboard went up at the corner of Palouse River Drive and South Main Street that openly mocked God and told my children to do the same. Ladies and gentlemen, my children have gone through too much to allow someone to intimidate or ridicule or undermine their faith. I'd like to tell you a story. 2 months ago, my daughter, who is 6 years old, had a fever. When she has fever, she occasionally has seizures. So naturally, we did our best to keep the fever down. And for a while, she was fine. But then her eyes started glazing over. She started acting really lethargic. And she started having a seizure. They usually last a few minutes, and then she slowly comes out of it. No permanent damage is done, but they are terrifying to us nonetheless. But 5 minutes went by, and she kept shaking. Her eyes kept looking at us. She violently vomited. We laid her on her left side so she wouldn't choke. I held her hand, and with my wife, we talked to our daughter. We told her everything would be okay, and we prayed, and we called for help. But after half an hour, she still hadn't come out of it. EMS prepared to take her to the hospital. I hurried out of my vomit-stained clothes, and I rushed to the ambulance. I stayed with her the whole time, and for the next hour, while the doctors and nurses worked on her, I prayed. Around the country, our whole extended family prayed. And as the minutes went by, and my daughter, my firstborn, my only daughter, laid there unconscious, I prayed. As she lay there for an hour, unresponsive to what the doctors were doing, and as they told me that this was not normal, and as the devastating thought gripped my heart that my daughter might not ever see her mother and her brothers again, the one thought that consumed me was, is she ready? Is she ready to meet her Maker? Because all I want for my daughter is to be happy and loved and safe. And there is no other person and no other place who has made my wife and me and our parents and our whole family know such love and forgiveness and peace and joy as Jesus Christ. When my still unconscious daughter had to be airlifted to Spokane, and for the first time since I was in Iraq, I had to ride in a helo. The combat mission we were on that day was commanded by the God who somebody has told my daughter is just an imaginary friend. But he was not an imaginary friend to her that day, ladies and gentlemen. He healed her, and she has chosen to love him. So, ladies and gentlemen, the advertising company says it respects community standards. I ask you to please tell them whether or not attacks upon the faith of little children like mine meet Moscow standards. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.